The Lemonade Car Show is sponsored by OMVIC, Ontario's vehicle sales regulator. Welcome to the Lemonade Car Show, brought by OMVIC and Crown. I'm your host, Lorraine Sommerfeld. I'm joined today by Emily Chung and George Iny, the president of the APA. We're going to take lots of calls this session, so want to get right to it? You're our mechanic. You can argue with George all you like, but let's go to the phones.
I have a 2015 Nissan Altima where the hood flew up and damaged the fenders, the windshield, the hood. And Nissan has a recall on many of them, but not on mine. I'm wondering what I can do. Thank you. Bye now.
So, Lorraine, there is a recall. It's for Altima from 2013 to early 2015 production. So maybe the caller's vehicle was made a little bit later. Mm-hmm. Or maybe Nissan thinks that this hood flew up because somebody didn't close it properly. Oh. Mm-hmm. That's another option as well. It does occasionally happen with recalls that the car maker is just a little bit too limited and you get vehicles that are outside the range that have the same problem. So first step, contact Transport Canada. Be sure to have photos available to show them the damage. Second, I don't know if this would be covered as an insurance claim. Perhaps this caller doesn't want to do that. Mm-hmm. But you would start with notifying. I mean, if the dealer knows and they're refusing it, it's probably because Nissan doesn't want to pay. Yeah. Would you have anything to say about hood latches in general?
I mean, whenever we get clients with the hood latch issues, we always remind them that there's two stages of a hood latch, right? And so to just make sure, once you close it, to make sure that you actually can't physically open it again. But to your point about the model years, like I would also add that, you know, a lot of manufacturers, they go by the production year too, which sometimes can be different than what's stated as a model year. So that little detail too, just to have them check into it.
Do you see if someone has come in, let's say to your shop for the first time with an older car, that's something that was neglected? Hood latches, door hinges, locks?
Yeah, so over time, if they're not lubricated, then yes, they start seizing as well. And so that is something that on a regular basis, we would, you know, lubricate every now and again.
But I'd say definitely in the case of the Altima, 2015 is not that old.
I was going to say
contact
close.
Transport Canada. Make sure Nissan also is on notice in writing. Nissan is hard-nosed when it comes to warranty. They're a tough company to deal with. They're cheap. And so, it's true. Okay. So if they think they can get away without paying for it, they will try in some cases.
Okay, so Transport Canada is the first.
Well, they're only logging it at this point. They won't be active. But if a certain number of people have had the same problem, they're outside of the range, then they might ask for Nissan, in a way, that doesn't count as another recall, so there's less stigma. It's an extension of a recall, so that doesn't get you in the papers.
He might want to check with the Auto Safety Center in the U.S. in Atlanta as well. They're like Transport Canada, and they log
they're like us.
Stuff as well.
So there's two. Yeah. So you have the NHTSA, which is a government website in the U.S. Mm-hmm. Unlike Canada, everything goes in there. Yeah. So it's like a tickle trunk. It's giant. And you may find other people with your problem. And then the Center for Auto Safety is like the American APA. So they may sometimes they do get calls from Canadians. They may have information.
Well, they do, because their numbers, if you extrapolate ours, if we have two, they'll have 10 times that,
more.
You know, because of the population.
Yes and no. If it's weather-related, like corrosion or stuff, you know, Consumer Reports ended up having 8 complaints from Honda owners that they went national on that. On the CRV program, we had 20.
Oh, so it was
for
flipped.
Canada. Okay. Yeah, so sometimes it just depends on what you're seeing in your intake.
It's worth a look, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Look, I just like when George tells me I'm wrong. It happens once a show.
I didn't tell you were wrong. Come on.
Let's go back to the phones.
Hi, good morning. My name's Steve. I'm calling from Wyerton. We have a 2012 BMW 3 Series Sport Wagon. In the last couple of weeks, the transmission has been slipping a little bit. It's the first time we've noticed it. It happened between second and third gear once and between third and fourth gear once. The service light comes on in the dash window immediately upon startup, but does not lodge a code in the computer. And I'm just wondering if you guys might be able to tell me what is causing it. Could it be low transmission fluid? Or I'm looking for help.
Okay, BMW, Sport Wagon. First, what would you do to diagnose this? What would you be asking?
So, I mean, I think what he has said on the phone call was a great way to describe it because he's actually got detail there. But for us, we would plug it into the scan tool and just see what codes we have. And so there's different modules that the vehicle stores codes under. So it's very possible that, if he's not getting a code, it might just be a limited scan tool that he's using. We can scan the entire vehicle, go into different modules. So likely we would be able to pull up a code under the transmission, the TCM. And so we would go from that step first, check any TSBs that the manufacturer might have released, and then we would go into actually diagnosing the issue with the vehicle.
So unfortunately for the caller, he's out of warranty on a 2012. The BMW warranty would be over. There's no dipstick. Even if you knew how to check the oil level in the transmission as a consumer, it's not a consumer item, I guess,
Right.
by then.
And there's many things that could cause slipping in a tranny, right? It could be the fluid as well, but it could also be a lot of the electronic systems that's controlling the transmission as well.
So this could get a little pricey really quickly.
Well,
Maybe not.
Maybe.
It could just be a sensor. It could be, it could be many different things. So
it gets pricey quickly if you go the wrong way.
That's right.
Because the people who don't know what they're doing are going to be looking at replacing
Looking,
large
okay.
assemblies. You
Yeah.
might be able to do just a solenoid.
So narrow
Yeah.
down and pinpoint. We'll be back with more Lemonade after this message. The Lemonade Car Show is sponsored by OMVIC, Ontario's vehicle sales regulator. The Lemonade Car Show is sponsored by OMVIC, Ontario's vehicle sales regulator. Welcome back to the Lemonade Car Show, brought to you by OMVIC and Crown. I'm with Emily Chung and George Iny, and we're taking your questions today. Let's go back to the phones.
Question on oil viscosity. Is it okay to substitute 15W40 instead of 25W40? Thanks.
Emily, do you know where you could find a 25W40?
No, I'm
What
trying
would
to figure out what vehicle he's running. But I guess my question would be, why?
Lemonade Lawnmower Show? Like what?
Yeah, I don't know. And we always say go by the owner's the manufacturer's suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
There are many manufacturers that have a range, so you can switch, between certain grades. However, we always say follow what. They're the one who built the engine. They will know, better what is required.
And they're
The
the ones
general
who,
trend, Lorraine, because of fuel economy, is to go toward lower numbers, lighter oil.
Yeah.
And this is a caller he's trying to substitute a heavy oil for a very heavy oil. So it's a bit of a surprise. I do know of some fleets that use the 1540, particularly if they're running them like in summer, because they believe it provides more protection. But that would be for like trucks, and
Yeah.
it's not a consumer grade anymore
No,
very
no.
much. Maybe for even in competition, people usually want a lighter oil nowadays.
Yeah.
I just think go by your manual because that's who's warranting that car. And if you go outside of that, they'll know. A lot of
Well,
people
I'm
think they
assuming
won't
that
know
manual
if you use
is
the wrong gas.
2540 from the call, right? We have to. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and if you go to thicker oil, there's other components in the engine that are more susceptible to wear and damage. So unless maybe he's trying to address, a specific engine issue, if there's a worn part he's trying to compensate for, I don't know. But yeah, we always say go by the manufacturer's recommendation.
And Canada is a cold climate, so you have to go by that part of your manual. Don't you like the little
Exactly.
cheesy bits I throw in? With the
It is cold, for sure.
Yeah.
We can take another question.
My question is about the tire monitoring sensors. I have a 2011 DTS, and one of them has gone blank. It's not showing. Does that mean the battery's out? And am I going to be looking at changing all four stems eventually? Someone told me they only have a lifespan of 10 years. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, if all of a sudden one day it cut out, then yeah, probably the battery is gone. And you can replace just the one. I wouldn't replace all four unless, I thought that maybe the other ones were going to fail soon. But you can definitely do it one at a time and then just have your service facility initialize that one, calibrate that one to the car, and it should be good to go. So that's if it failed, all of a sudden and it's always been working. We have had it before where, if they're mounting and dismounting tires, sometimes the sensors can be damaged as well at the time of that. But if he's just always had the sensors in, and all of a sudden one day it went dead, then yeah, it's probably the battery, and it's one whole unit. So you can't just replace the battery in the sensor, it'll be the sensor itself.
And that's what it'll be called. Okay.
Yeah.
10 years is pretty good if you got 10 years
not
out of
bad.
it, actually. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it
And
probably
prices
the-
have come down a lot since he bought those 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's good. Hope that helps you, Ed. Okay. Yeah, let's take another call.
Hi, my name is Glenn Erslock. I have a 2009 Mazda 5. I'm just calling in reference to your car show today in reference to the timing chain. I have approximately 165,000 kilometers on it.
Timing chain, Mazda.
The caller has a question, like, what do I do up at this relatively high mileage about my timing chain? And actually, if you're not having any problem, nothing. The car makers have switched over the years from timing belts, which you did have to replace somewhere between anywhere from 100 to about 180,000 kilometers, to timing chains, which are supposed to need less service. But we're actually seeing today, as opposed to having to change a belt, timing chain failures, and sometimes that creates a lot of headaches for owners. It's much more expensive than the old belt used to be, which was kind of something you could predict.
Is this across makes and models? Like, is this?
Some engines are much worse, and that is a BMW 2-liter. So 2012 to 2015 is a disaster when that goes.
Yeah.
Could you be a little clearer, George, on what you mean?
Disaster.
Some of the GM products have been known to have timing chain issues too. I think that, it goes to the fact that the engine oil is very important in the vehicle, right? A lot of times we see multiple things fail because of either extended service intervals, clients not changing them on time, so the oil is responsible now for much more than it used to be back in the day. And so, if clients are not replacing them on a regular basis, that oil change on a regular basis, then we do see other components of the engine start failing as well.
So it's really cheap insurance to keep your car running.
Yeah, 100% oil
And
change.
Will you see customers come in with engines that have noisy timing chains sometimes?
Oh, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we find sometimes people have been in for service and it's only a few weeks later. Obviously, nobody flagged it.
Yeah.
We'll be back after this break with more Lemonade Car Show. The Lemonade Car Show is sponsored by OMVIC, Ontario's vehicle sales regulator. The Lemonade Car Show is sponsored by OMVIC, Ontario's vehicle sales regulator. Welcome back to the Lemonade Car Show, brought to you by OMVIC and Crown. We're joined now by Chris Muir. We're still with Emily Chung. We're taking more of your questions with the dynamic duo. Go ahead, callers.
Hello, I have a 2003 Blazer. I've had it for 9 or 10 years. I'm thinking of changing the rad fluid, flushing it. I need some good advice.
Rad flush. I know lots of flushes I've heard are scammy. You've taught me that. Rad flush. In this,
few.
Yeah, a few.
Yeah.
Okay. This particular circumstance, an older Bronco, did it?
No, Blazer.
Blazer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a good idea, right? What did you say, 9, 10 years?
Yeah, he said it was an 03 Blazer, so it's up there. General Motors is 160,000 or 10 years for their coolant flush service. And what that is it's taking out all of the old coolant and replenishing it with fresh stuff. It's got fresh corrosion inhibitors in it. It's got fresh freeze protection in it. You want to mix it with demineralized water so it doesn't start to rot inside the system, replace the thermostat, and send it back down the road for another few years worth of service.
Yeah.
Okay, we have agreement. No
Yes.
fighting. Way to go, kids. Let's go to the next question.
Hi, my name is Robert from Ottawa. I got my truck crowned every year since I've owned a car. I started having a rust problem around my tailgate, and what's happening is that it's starting to rust. And I went and seen the crown dealer, and he said that he can't do nothing about it. He said it was the dealer's problem, and it was the paint itself. So I just wanted to know what I can do about it. And I'm sorry, I'd like to go back to Crown, and I don't know what I should do.
Robert, we just want to let you know that we have contacted Crown on your behalf. We've got the information, so you'll be hearing from somebody about this, but we will look into it for you. Let's take another question.
My question is, are there any differences for storing cars outside on the driveway than it is for storing cars inside the garage?
Okay, I'm guessing that Sue means storing it as in not driving it for the winter. So there is a difference.
Yeah, for
It's a big
sure.
difference.
Certainly.
For sure.
I think if you can store it inside, that's
It's
you
much
should.
better.
Yeah.
That's ideal. What you're going for, will you store it inside is a fixed climate so you don't get any humidity building up in the seams and on the panels and everything, everywhere where you can't see it. The real killer of a car is moisture. Right? Salt is going to accelerate that process, but if you leave a car outside in a field, it's going to rot because of the moisture coming out of the ground. So storing it on a driveway, making sure that it's properly undercoated, a breathable cover on top to let moisture escape the car is also a pretty good move for success. Fresh fluids, same as you would with a car stored indoors, but ideally indoors is better storage.
Okay. But cover it. Take care of it. Okay. Hope that helps you. We've got time for another question.
Yes, my name is Brian, and I would like to ask a question on the electric cars. I have a camper with solar on the top, and now they've got flexible solar panels. Why aren't they using solar on your roofs and on your hoods and on your trunks? I'm sure to this day that, they can make them so you can hardly even see what's up there, especially on the roof, and they could be charging with the solar while they're driving these batteries or while they're parked overnight. Okay, at night you wouldn't get the sun on it, but early in the morning it starts. We've been traveling for 240,000 kilometers in our camper, and about 200 kilometers we've had solar, and we have not had to plug in, basically. We have 2 golf cart batteries on board. We run everything. So I'm just wondering why they don't include solar with that. Thank you very much.
I've heard this a lot, actually. My own sister has asked me why solar isn't being converted to the cars more readily or sooner.
Well, there are some manufacturers that are looking into going that way, but I think at the end of the day, it's the cost to do that, and also, the output, right? You can take this.
So the technology for the solar panel isn't there. We don't make enough power out of the solar panel in order to properly charge a large battery like that. He was referring to a camper that's got 2 12-volt batteries in it, very likely wired, so it is only a 12-volt system. It's pretty easy to replenish 12 volts at a slow trickle charge. What we're looking at is a large battery that's 400 plus volts worth of stored energy. So a small patch of solar panel on one of these cars, and you look at them and they're giant greenhouses. They've got a lot of exposed glass, not a lot of area to put a solar panel, and again, something that can be scratched, destroyed, increase the cost of the vehicle. They're just not feasible for properly recharging a battery of that size yet.
We'll be back with more Lemonade after this break. The Lemonade Car Show is sponsored by OMVIC, Ontario's vehicle sales regulator. The Lemonade Car Show is sponsored by OMVIC, Ontario's vehicle sales regulator. Welcome back to the Lemonade Car Show, brought to you by OMVIC and Crown. We're still with Emily Chung and Chris Muir, and we're still taking your calls. Let's go to the next one.
My question is, I have a 7-year-old Honda Civic that started to show white color on the top of the hood and on the top of the car. And Honda refused to repaint the car. Now, is there anything that could be done, or you only do rust proofing from underneath? Could it be done on the top too? Thank you very much.
Okay, Rudy's got a dilemma.
I don't know if that's a rust thing, though.
I don't think it's a rust. He's probably worried about a coming rust thing.
Yeah, it's a top coat thing or a clear coat thing. And as we were talking during the break, apparently there was a hidden TSB on the paint defect, and they were covering it for a few years over base warranty, but unfortunately for any defective paint, that TSB is expired. They're no longer covering it.
And see, when a service bulletin, if they're not, it's not that he was mailed one and missed it, it's that it wasn't sent out, only dealers saw it, so you had to go in and complain within that time frame.
Yeah, service bulletins aren't usually mailed out to consumers,
they're for dealers.
right? They are for the service providers,
So he is outside of that, which is unfortunate, but he could still try. He could still ask. And it sounds like he has.
He could certainly contact the APA or Honda directly and see if they're willing to offer any extension or help, or maybe partial payment for a recoat of paint. But again, that's up to Honda, and giving somebody at the APA a call is certainly going to help him out.
And it sounds like with the rust proofing part of that question, he's concerned about corrosion because of that, but you can't, there's not much he can do.
On a hood.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't
It's
want to select your car
inaccessible, so
on
you
the
can't
top.
do- So, yeah, okay. Don't be smart with me. Okay. Sorry, Rudy. That's about all we have for you on that question. Hopefully you can get some outside assistance, maybe, but maybe not. Let's go to another question.
Good morning. My name is Terry Mather. I'm out here by Dundalk, Ontario, and we've recently purchased a 2003 Ford Crown Victoria. I can't believe the mileage we're getting with this. It's very, very close to 30 miles to the gallon. Can you tell me more about these cars, what to expect as far as soft spots are concerned? Appreciate you're here to comment. Thanks very much. Bye for now.
This is your baby.
Wow.
The
I
only
may
thing
or may
Chris-
not own one.
Chris only drives old Crown Vics.
Well, I like the big boaty car. I'm a little bit big for compact cars. Crown Victoria 2003 was a 4.6 liter V8. The things are next to bulletproof. Not tremendous horsepower output. The transmissions are pretty good in them. They've got a 488 rear end, which is pretty standard fare. It's pretty bulletproof. They're body on frame construction. They're like car bodies on top of truck chassis. That one's got a steering box. Newer ones had steering racks, so it helped improve their performance just a little bit. But I mean, as far as just a bulletproof tank of a car that's pretty easy to work on and replacement parts are everywhere, it's not a bad car. And yeah, they're reasonable on fuel.
So no soft spots. This is great.
The bodywork sometimes gets a little rotty, so as long as you're undercoating the car and looking out for rust, you'll be okay.
That's good. So, good purchase. Well, you're going to say that anyway.
I like them.
We'll take the next question.
I'm thinking about buying two different cars, either a Toyota Corolla hatchback or a Honda HR-V 2019. Which car do you think would be more reliable? Thank you.
Okay, opinions on these two vehicles. I talked my daughter-in-law out of an HR-V 2 years ago, but that was just me.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the HR-V I find is a little bit underpowered, just the size of the motor compared to the weight of the actual vehicle. And so, but if you're driving, short distances in the city and you don't need that power to pick up on the highway, that kind of thing, then that might be okay. I know that when we were road testing the HR-V, we lifted it up in our shop, and they had like a felt liner almost going on the underside of the vehicle, probably for aerodynamics. But my concern with felt material, that type of thing, is, it traps a lot of the salt and debris on the roads, and it just kind of cakes in there. In terms of the Corolla, I mean, it's a tried and tested, proven model. And I mean, there's different weight ratios too when you look at even just engine size compared to, just back to the performance side of the HR-V.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got to side with the Toyota on this one as far as my own personal opinion goes. It's enough utility, but it's a car. It's going to be good on fuel. Again, it's a proven chassis. They've stiffened the chassis. They've improved the performance of the car, the handling of the car, and I mean, they look fantastic. I would go with the Toyota myself, just based on that.
I like when we have a definitive answer for a caller. That's very cool. Thanks, both of you. That's all the time we have for the Lemonade Car Show. I'm Lorraine Sommerfeld. These are my guests, Emily Chung with Auto Niche, Chris Muir. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Crown, Onvic, Hotspot Auto Parts, and Sound Insurance, and of course, you viewers.